Thank you. And hello. And I want to start by thanking Microsoft for timing the acquisition on GamesBeat. It always gives us a lot of things to talk about when you see a multi-billion-dollar acquisition in the gaming space. So today I want to give a global perspective of gaming. Being in Silicon Valley, a lot of time we lose perspective of what's going on around the globe. So quickly, before I get into gaming, quick note about us. Flurry, we have been acquired by Yahoo, and now we are part of Yahoo, and we're going to continue working on everything we started doing when we were independent. So when we talk about gaming, we talk about mobile's favorite pastime. What you see here on the slides is a distribution of time spent in mobile and across the world. This chart is specifically in the United States. But this is a reflection of what 1.5 billion, that's with a B, people do. And 32% of time spent is in gaming. So what we do here is very important. So because it is affecting the lives of 1.5 billion and 30% of their time. And this just happened the past 6 years. So it's the level that broadcast media, such as television or radio, have achieved in decades. We have achieved as an industry in just 6 years. So if you look at 32% of the time, let me give you a perspective on that. It is about 51 minutes per day in the United States if you look at the population 13 years and over. So there's a significant amount of time spent, and we're going to talk about other countries later in the talk today. So if you go back and take a step back and look at mobile in general, there's a lot of addiction going on in mobile. So what we've done is we've kind of segmented the audience based on folks who touch or launch applications 16 times a day, 16 to 60, and over 60 times a day. And we called the last segment the addicts. So that's the segment that grew the fastest in between 2012 and 2013. So close to 176 million people worldwide. That's 4 times the size of the adult population of France are in the mobile addicts category. And if we look at that category, the gamers over-index 7x on the female side and 6x on the male side. So most likely, mobile app addicts or mobile addicts are gamers. And what's very interesting is in gaming, addiction translates into revenue and money. So in a lot of other industry, addiction usually translate into usage and consumption, and through advertising, that translates into ad dollars. While with gaming, we've seen addiction translates immediately into dollars. So very interesting trend to watch here. And if you look at from a demographic perspective, it's always like there's a perception that gaming is either a teenager or men's market. It's actually women. If you look at mobile gaming, almost in every genre, in every segment of mobile gaming, women are outspending men in time and in money. This chart is actually only time, and it reflects the time spent per genre, and also color-coded. Pink is female, and blue is male. Color-coded based on the time spent on a weekly basis only on the Flurry platform. And this is not extrapolated for the total pie or the total size of the market. So you can see in management and simulation games, women are spending almost like 150 minutes per week and only on the Flurry platform. But if you can look at it from a relative perspective, you get the idea that this is women are dominating men in terms of time spent and in terms of money spent. So if you look at it again, like I mentioned at the beginning, if we take a global perspective to the gaming world, we are effectively a globe that is standardizing on gaming as the global pastime. What you see here is a number of gaming devices that we see on a monthly basis. And you can see in the United States, close to 151 million devices. You can estimate there's about 1.7 device per consumer. So close to 90 million to 100 million daily gamers in the United States alone, followed by China, the United Kingdom. So it is the experience that seems to cross borders. And your gamers are everywhere. So if you're sitting and designing a game, you have to think of a global market. And if we look at the time spent, then we look at very interesting results. A lot of times, the United States is being accused of being the country that wastes the most time, and the Germans are very effective and efficient. But if you look at this chart, Germany is second only to the United States in terms of time spent. So on average, an American consumer is spending 51.8 minutes per day in gaming, in mobile gaming. And Germany's 47.1 minutes. Well, that's a huge thing that we've seen. This is, I think, the first time where we see experiences, cross borders and command so much of consumers' time. So that includes the 13 to 17 segment, so from an age segment, and those skew the average higher. But it's a very interesting phenomenon we're seeing on a worldwide basis in terms of time spent. This is something that television or sitcoms have commanded in the United States. Japanese game shows have commanded in Japan. And a very interesting time. Again, a lot of anecdotes, a lot of jokes could be made about this chart, but we're not alone. We're not exclusive in terms of taking a lot of time on the mobile gaming platform. So the other thing we looked at, and this is a lot of fresh stats here coming from us at Fleury, is try to understand what are the experiences that are crossing borders. And if you take, gaming is a big industry, and it's even getting bigger, but you can segment it based on the genres of the gaming being played. And you see a very different gamer based on the country they are. So if you look, for example, in China, the time spent or engagement is mainly in arcades and action. And then you look at Italy and Germany, it's kind of brains and puzzles. And you look at the United States, it's kind of evenly distributed between arcades and casual gaming. While in Russia, for example, casual gaming are the dominant category. So as you think of building a game and taking it to market, we should try to understand the audience that you're going after and where they reside. But that's a very interesting chart to talk about. We always look at gaming as a broad category. We now have to segment gaming. It's the same thing when television became very popular in the 50s. Everybody considered TV as a segment on its own, but now a lot of people talk about a broadcast television. A lot of people talk about cable TV, which is being different. And the cable industry allowed specific content to seek specific audiences and cut different distribution deals with the cable carriers. So folks who watch the Food Network are very different than the folks who watch CNN or many other content. And it's the same thing that's happening in gaming. From a cultural perspective, there's a different appeal to some gaming genres outside the United States or inside the United States. But the key message here is that we got to look carefully at the country we are putting our games in and try to see if there's reception, whether it's cultural or all types of reception to the games we're putting out on a country-by-country basis. Give you a different cut to see what are the genres that are crossing borders. And it's very clear that arcades and action and casual are the ones that are crossing every border. So it's kind of like the lingua franca of gaming. So while if you look at sports games, they are the ones that are definitely not crossing borders. Well, this seems a little bit obvious because there's national sports per country. So here, we like football and then baseball, while in the UK, they like football, but it's a different football. It's actually soccer. And in India, they like cricket. So that seems a little bit obvious, but it's something that we have to keep in mind. The second thing that we thought was a little bit odd was cards and casino games are not crossing borders. But again, it is cultural. So while arcades, action, and casual are crossing every border. So what you see here is the percentage of gamers that are in that category, and the kind of the darker blue is when you see the majority in that country, or the reach of those consumers per country. So very interesting stats to look at here. So give you some anecdotes. In Germany and Italy, brain and puzzle games way over-index compared to the average. So roughly 154% over-indexing in Germany, and about 135% in Italy. While if you look at Brazil, sports game, well, of course, it is soccer. They over-index 69% to the rest of the world. India, cards and casino games, which are not popular everywhere, are very popular in India and over-index about 120% compared to the rest of the industry. So if you go back and look at where are these games made in, and that's something we talk about an import-export ratio, or net import or net export ratio. Now we know that gaming as a segment is a global market, and will become even more global with the proliferation of smartphones and tablets. And now that you got the phablet, which is a smartphone and a tablet at the same time, gives us another segment to go after. So it's very interesting in that in the United States and in China, domestic consumption is higher. So people are using games made in the United States in the US, and games made in China get a lot of penetration in China. So we're thinking domestic consumption, then we think about export. While if you look at the United Kingdom, only 35% of the games being used on a daily basis from a time spent perspective are made in the UK. So, and then Brazil, only 25% of game spent are made in Brazil. So so it tells you effectively that the US market for indie developers or established gaming companies is actually mature, while we're seeing a vibrant economy in Europe and in Brazil and Latin America, and definitely in Southeast Asia, about developing games and then exporting them to worldwide consumption. So if you, for example, look at the net export, probably Finland would win in terms of net export. A lot of games developed, mobile games in Finland, like Supercell or before that, Rovio, have been exported and being consumed on a worldwide basis. So from a US-centric perspective, this is a little bit of a threat or an opportunity to the US industry. In the heart of the PC era, United States commanded 65% market share of software that is consumed on a worldwide basis. While if you look at the last 4 years, from 2011 till now, our market share has gone down from 53% to 34%. So we're seeing a massive opportunity outside the United States, a lot of activity of mobile application developers, and more importantly, mobile gaming developers start to mushroom everywhere. And it's very interesting. We attribute this to the stores, like it's Apple Store and Google Play, as a distribution channel. There's still not a marketing channel, but at least there's a distribution channel. Like in the past, it would be hard for, I'd say, the consumer in the United States or the United Kingdom or France to buy gaming or put their credit card for a game that's made in Vietnam. But that's not the case in the mobile era, because a game made in Vietnam is put in the US App Store, and the credit risk is and the credit friction is removed by Apple, and the risk is assumed by Apple. So the friction to commerce has been taken out. And there's a perception, if you ask actually the normal consumer, hey, where did you get that game? They didn't say, for example, Flappy Bird, I got it from Don Nguyen from Vietnam. They say, look, I downloaded it from Apple. So by definition, they trust that brand. And then the same thing, I got it from Google Play. And hence, they believe that either Google made it or Google has vetted out for them. So I think the distribution, worldwide distribution, has helped worldwide gaming developers be able to distribute their content and their games worldwide. Now, in terms of opportunity for the gaming segment, this is a very, very vibrant segment. We've seen there's a lot of debates about what is in the mobile gaming revenues, advertising, or in-app purchases, or even paid apps. But the numbers will fluctuate, but you're still talking billions of dollars. We've seen a lot of M&A activity. Today would be an example, but that's not going to be the last one. Although gaming is a very vibrant segment, let's say this year, roughly $18 billion in revenue, it is hard to get, it's still a hit-driven industry. And once you find the hit, you double down on it and you triple down on it. So, because not every gaming company is going to succeed. The second thing is once you see a hit that has worldwide engagement, and like I said, engagement translates into dollars. That's the example of Minecraft. Again, those are one-hit wonders. And we've seen a lot of companies have a couple of one-hit wonder that does not scale. Or they get a phenomenal title and they cannot follow up with another big title. The other thing we've seen is a lot of games that appear to certain genres, like midcore or hardcore, they do actually command a high ARPU and ARPU from a smaller audience. But as the audience grows, the ARPU goes down, and then they don't find the appeal. So of course, if you have a midcore and a hardcore, you will find those 1,000 or 10,000 players on a country-by-country basis, but they're not going to scale to the million. So, but as you achieve, you hit the millions, and you've got the engagement, and that engagement translates into dollars, those opportunities are actually unique. But a lot of opportunities in mobile that's still untapped. In terms of the business model on mobile, there's no question that the free-to-play is the predominant monetization mechanism. So a lot of games, they go free and in-app purchases, but advertising is also about 33% of the revenue that's coming to gaming. And we believe that is going to increase because a lot of advertisers want to connect, or a lot of brands want to connect with their consumers, and much to their display are actually in games. So traditionally, advertisers were worried that whether games are brand safe. Well, today in mobile, they do not have a choice because if you go back to the pie, 30% of the time is spent in games, and 30% is spent in social. So gaming are actually more brand safe. They're safer from a brand perspective because most of the time it's not user-generated content, while in social it's all user-generated content. So it is the lesser of two evils as far as brands are concerned. And then 51 minutes, that's equivalent to 2 sitcoms. Because sitcoms are usually 22 minutes of programming, 8 minutes of advertising. So the average time spent in the United States is more than 2 sitcoms. So that's something that advertisers, even TV advertisers, radio advertisers, print and online cannot ignore anymore. So that's going to be a very healthy revenue for gamers. In addition to continued growth in in-app purchases for folks who build monetization in the game loop itself. So this is a massive opportunity. A lot of people believe that mobile gaming is done. There's only a few players that take a majority of the revenue. Well, I beg to differ. With all the growth, we are still 14% of the total gaming opportunity on a worldwide basis. So this is an $80 billion that has not been captured. And gaming is doing very well. The quality of the games is improving. The monetization is improving. Engagement is improving. So there is a massive opportunity that's still left to be had on the mobile gaming side. So we're very excited about this. We're very excited about the market. And we're very lucky to be part of this ecosystem. So with that, I'm happy to take questions. I do have a minute left. If anybody has a question, happy to. There's a question. I think the microphone is on its way.
Hi. Sorry.
Oh.
You talk about how the opportunities for advertisers are primarily based on like traditional TV metrics. It seems like there's what are the institutional barriers that are preventing traditional advertisers from diving into the mobile space? Because there's something stopping them, and it's not entirely clear that pressure is going to be what breaks it on the advertising side. So what are the boundaries that are not?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things that are I'd say stopping this big flow. One is time. It takes time for the brands to get used to spending on a channel. The second one is measurement. So on television, you got Nielsen's that has a currency, which is GRP, and that's how you trade advertising. So independent third-party measurement that can qualify the audience and be able to trade advertising based on that audience. I say, so time, which is getting people used to, and that will solve itself. The second one is true measurement that the industry has to agree, and that's what I call traditional TV advertising coming to the gaming segment. And I believe that will occur the next 18 to 24 months. Got time for one more question, and then we'll wrap up. Sorry.
I'll just go. Can you disclose how you arrive at these figures? I find it extremely useful.
Yeah, so how do we arrive at these figures? So Flurry is embedded in about 570,000 applications, and gaming is a good chunk of that. So we have actual measurement, and then we also triangulate to Comscore's numbers, because Comscore discloses those numbers, and then we build fitting algorithms in order to see the time spent in all the experiences, and that's how we extrapolate to applications we're not in. So we are in a lot of applications that Comscore discloses publicly. So we triangulate to those numbers, and we build the curve to see the time spent, and we do it on a country-by-country basis.
Wonderful. And then is your PowerPoint available for download?
I will ask the GamesBeat guys for the answer on that. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy lunch.